Perched on the edge of the San Francisco Bay, it's California's oldest prison, home to death row, notorious gang leaders, and broken men seeking redemption. Inside these concrete walls, history and horror intertwine. Executions, riots, reform programs, and stories of survival. Every corner whispers a legend. This isn't just a prison. It's a mirror reflecting the darkest, and sometimes brightest, parts of America's justice system. In 1852, California opened San Quentin to tame chaos. The gold rush had flooded the state with fortune seekers and outlaws. Lawlessness reigned. Authorities needed a prison that could hold the most dangerous men. Built on reclaimed land along the bay, San Quentin became both symbol and solution, the first state prison in California. Wooden ships carried inmates from crowded jails to this isolated site. Some were chained to each other during the trip. From day one, San Quentin represented harsh justice, order by iron bars. San Quentin houses the largest death row in the United States. Since 1893, executions have been carried out here by hanging, lethal gas, and later lethal injection. Infamous inmates like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, waited in these cells for years. For some, death row became a psychological prison within a prison, endless appeals, tiny cells, and the slow ticking of time. The shadow of the execution chamber looms over every man housed there, reminding the prison and the nation of the finality of justice. The prison yard is San Quentin's beating heart, and its most dangerous ground. Gang rivalries between the Mexican Mafia, Aryan Brotherhood, and Black Guerrilla family often erupt here. Stabbings, ambushes, and riots have soaked the concrete in blood. Yet the yard is also a stage for alliances. Deals are struck, debts paid, and respect earned, or lost. For inmates, stepping into the yard is a gamble with fate. Survival demands loyalty, strength, and constant vigilance. One mistake can turn a walk into a death sentence. San Quentin has erupted in violence more than once. The 1960s and 1970s saw uprisings fueled by racial tension, overcrowding, and political unrest. One of the most infamous incidents was in 1971, when revolutionary figure George Jackson attempted an escape. Gunfire filled the yard. Guards and inmates fell. The bloodshed shocked the nation, cementing San Quentin as a symbol of prison unrest. Each riot left scars on both inmates and officers, reminders that at San Quentin, order can shatter in a heartbeat. For decades, men have described entering San Quentin as stepping through a gate to hell. The clang of iron doors, the smell of sweat and despair, the echo of boots on concrete, it all crushes hope. Yet, within this bleakness, sparks of redemption still flicker. Programs like vocational training, education, and even music offered inmates a second chance. Some found religion, others discovered art. San Quentin is a paradox, a place of destruction and rebirth, where one man's nightmare becomes another's salvation. Beyond the general population lies administrative segregation, the hole. Inmates here are locked down 23 hours a day. The punishment is isolation, silence, and psychological warfare. Some lose their minds staring at walls. Others sharpen focus, planning survival or revenge. To be thrown into the hole in San Quentin is to fight a new battle, not with knives or gangs, but with one's own sanity. For many, the hole is worse than any physical punishment. It is San Quentin's deepest cruelty. George Jackson wasn't just an inmate. He became a symbol. Convicted of armed robbery, he entered San Quentin and quickly rose as a revolutionary voice. His book Soledad Brother exposed brutality behind prison walls and turned him into an icon for black liberation movements. But in 1971, Jackson's story ended in blood. During an escape attempt, hidden guns turned the yard into a war zone. Guards and inmates died, and Jackson himself was shot dead. His death sparked protests nationwide. Inside San Quentin, it left a legacy of defiance and fear, forever tying the prison to America's struggles with race, justice, and rebellion. San Quentin was built for about 3,000 men. At times, it's held more than double that number. Cells designed for one prisoner often cage 2 or even 3. Hallways turn into makeshift dormitories. Overcrowding means tension, more bodies, less space, shorter tempers. Fights break out over food, showers, even the right to breathe. Guards are stretched thin, unable to control every corner. Diseases spread quickly in such close quarters. For decades, lawsuits have hammered California over this crisis, calling it cruel and unusual punishment. San Quentin became the poster child for a system bursting at its seams. San Quentin has housed some of the most notorious names in American crime. Charles Manson, cult leader of the 1960s murders, spent time here. So did Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, whose cold smile terrified Californians in the 1980s. Even Stanley Tookie Williams, co-founder of the Crips, once walked its tiers. Each name brought media attention, protesters, and controversy. But the prison walls swallow celebrities just as they do the forgotten. For guards and inmates, fame doesn't grant mercy. Behind the bars of San Quentin, every man is reduced to a number and a cell. From the outside, San Quentin looks like a fortress dropped straight from a nightmare. Perched against the San Francisco Bay, its thick concrete walls stretch upward like a castle built to keep monsters in, or maybe to keep society safe from them. For new arrivals, the sight alone crushes hope. The guard towers loom overhead, rifles at the ready, reminding every man that escape is nearly impossible. Inside, the smell of steel, sweat, and despair lingers in the air. The clang of iron doors echoes through cell blocks like funeral bells. For inmates, the walls are more than barriers. They are symbols of eternity. No matter what's happening in the free world beyond, life inside San Quentin stays locked in the same cycle of violence, survival, and shattered dreams. Every brick whispers the same message. Once you're inside, the prison owns you. Life on death row is not only about awaiting execution, it's about enduring time. Inmates spend decades in tiny cells, each about the size of a bathroom. They live in near total isolation, their days marked by silence, broken only by the shuffle of guards' boots or the distant clang of doors. For many, appeals stretch on endlessly, creating a limbo worse than death itself. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, spent over 20 years here before succumbing to cancer rather than the needle. Stanley Tookie Williams wrote books for children warning against gangs while waiting for his final day. Some men embrace religion, others go mad. Each sunrise is a reminder of the inevitable, yet never knowing when the call will come is its own torture. Death row in San Quentin isn't just about executions. It's a psychological battlefield where hope and despair fight every single day. Step into the general population, and you'll see San Quentin divided like a chessboard. Inmates cluster by race and gang affiliation, lines drawn in invisible ink but enforced with deadly loyalty. The Aryan Brotherhood, Mexican Mafia, and Black Guerrilla Family control their respective territories. A wrong step, even a wrong word, can mean a blade to the ribs. Violence often erupts during mealtimes or on the yard, sparked by disputes over drugs, debts, or respect. Yet within these walls, the divisions are also about survival. Sticking to your group offers protection. Refusing to do so makes you a target. Guards know the code but rarely intervene until it's too late. In San Quentin, segregation isn't written in policy, but it rules every interaction. It is a world where trust is rare, betrayal is fatal, and survival depends on knowing exactly where you belong. In San Quentin, survival isn't just about fists and knives, it's about strategy. Some inmates become jailhouse lawyers, learning the law to file appeals or help others. Others master the underground economy, trading cigarettes, food, or contraband smuggled past guards. Tattoos serve as both art and coded language, broadcasting gang ties and histories of violence. Even something as simple as working out becomes a survival tactic. Muscle is armor, but survival is also mental. Inmates must learn when to speak, when to stay silent, and who to trust. One mistake can cost everything. For newcomers, the unspoken rules are overwhelming, but for veterans, survival becomes second nature. In San Quentin, every glance, every step, every decision can be the difference between walking the yard and being carried out of it. Amid the darkness, San Quentin is also known for something unexpected: groundbreaking rehabilitation programs. The prison hosts one of the most respected prison newspapers, the San Quentin News, written and edited by inmates. Its media center has even produced podcasts like Ear Hustle, giving the outside world a raw glimpse into life behind bars. College programs allow inmates to earn degrees. Creative writing and art classes provide outlets for expression. Perhaps most surprising, San Quentin has a fully functioning baseball team, the San Quentin Giants, who play against visiting civilian teams. These programs give prisoners more than skills, they give them purpose. For some, it's the first time they've felt human in years. Yet, the irony is sharp. In a place built to break men, hope has found a way to survive. Hidden within San Quentin is California's most haunting room, the execution chamber. Once it held the gas chamber, where condemned men inhaled cyanide fumes as witnesses looked on. Later, it was replaced with a sterile death chamber designed for lethal inject. Ions. The green tiles, the gurney, the straps, all clinical, all final. Dozens of men have died here, from serial killers to gang leaders. Each execution drew protests outside the gates, some demanding justice, others pleading for mercy. Inside, the chamber is cold and silent, a place where the state carries out its ultimate punishment. For guards assigned to the duty, the burden lingers forever. For inmates on death row, the chamber is a nightmare that waits patiently, a constant reminder that in San Quentin, the end is never far away. For many inmates, the hardest part of San Quentin isn't the violence or the isolation, it's the separation from loved ones. Visitation days reveal another side of prison life. Wives, mothers, children, and friends line up outside the gates, passing through strict security before sitting across from the men they love. Conversations are limited, hugs are brief, and guards watch closely. For some, visits keep hope alive, a reminder of the world beyond the bars. For others, the silence of no visitors at all becomes its own punishment, heavier than chains. Families suffer alongside the inmates, carrying shame, stigma, and financial burdens. San Quentin's walls don't just hold criminals, they cast shadows across entire families. The prison sentence stretches far beyond the inmate, tearing holes in communities that may never heal. Few prisons in America allow inmates to run a newspaper, but San Quentin does. The San Quentin News is written, edited, and published entirely by prisoners. Inside its small newsroom, men pound away on typewriters and computers, reporting on prison conditions, rehabilitation, and national justice issues. The paper gives inmates a voice and forces the outside world to listen. Many reporters find purpose in the work, transforming from convicts into journalists. Their stories reach beyond the walls, sparking debates about youth reform and human rights. But running the paper isn't without risk. Writing truth in a prison filled with gangs and secrets can be dangerous. Yet the newsroom continues, a symbol of free speech in a place built on control. In San Quentin, words can be weapons, but here, they're also tools for change. San Quentin is more than a prison. It's a cultural landmark. Writers, musicians, and filmmakers have all been drawn to its shadow. Johnny Cash famously performed here in 1969, his gravelly voice echoing through the cell blocks, singing directly to men society had forgotten. Hollywood films like Blood In, Blood Out, and documentaries like Life After Murder have etched its image into pop culture. Even podcasts like Ear Hustle were born here, reaching millions worldwide. San Quentin isn't just a prison, it's a stage, a symbol, and a warning. Its stories of violence and redemption ripple far beyond California, shaping how the world views incarceration. For better or worse, San Quentin is etched into America's identity, forever known as the place where the darkest and brightest sides of humanity collide. San Quentin is not just a prison, it's a mirror. Inside its walls, we see the failures of justice, the scars of racism, the dangers of overcrowding, and the cycle of violence that continues to plague society. Yet we also see resilience, men finding hope in education, creativity, and second chances. San Quentin embodies America's contradictions: cruelty and compassion, punishment and redemption, despair and possibility. For some, it is the end of the road. For others, it is the beginning of change. As long as those walls stand, San Quentin will remain a haunting reminder of the price of crime, the cost of justice, and the eternal struggle between darkness and light. And that was inside San Quentin State Prison, a world of violence, history, and redemption, all locked behind concrete walls. If you found this story eye-opening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because we've got more hidden prison stories coming your way. Drop a comment below. Do you think San Quentin should be shut down, or does it still serve its purpose? Stay tuned, because the next prison we're taking you inside might shock you even more.